Fitzgerald.
Fitzy, you were the big mover in race 2, 14th to 7th. It'd be lovely to make that many spots up again in race 3.
Yeah, it would, wouldn't it? That meant I'd win it. But I think it's a tall order. It gets tougher from here on in because we're running up on the faster guys.
You had great speed in race 2 though, didn't you?
Yeah, the car was running well. We still haven't... We've got 2 good tyres on now, so hopefully we can pick up a bit more.
Nice to get a good result for the last race of the year.
Yeah, well, I wish it was a good result. We had a good result in qualifying, but then with that misdemeanour on the start where they black flagged me yesterday, that sort of hurt our results.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Very warm conditions at Sydney's Eastern Creek Raceway. And a big test for the final round and the final race of the final round. Davison gets a terrific start in the Braun Porsche. Richards tries to ensure that neither Marshall or Coleman can sneak up the inside as they go down through turn 1 on cold tyres for the first time, Brad Jones.
And they both got a very similar start, side by side all the way down through turn 1.
Looks like Scott Shearman and Chris Seidler there almost trading blows and trying to weave his way through the middle. A car directly in front of us now is Kevin Bell. Shearman almost contact with Clark Quinn. Dean Grant is up there as well. Grant a touch with Kevin Bell as they work out of turn 3 and over the rise for the first time. Pedersen tries to find a way by Dean Cook. So it's all happening in the early stages of this one.
Wow, there's plenty of contact here for a very early part of the race. They're all jostling really, really hard for position.
Word from pit lane is that John Tulin will not start this one because of clutch failure. It's only a short time between races 2 and 3 in this round of the Carrera Cup, and he wasn't able to get it fixed in time. Greg Keane there on the back of that group as Jim Richards works down toward turn 9.
And Jim's right on him from the start this time, so this should be a really compelling dice between these two. They should be going at it hammer and tongs. As you can see, Alex is already starting to turn in from quite a mid part of the circuit, so he's not giving Jim any room to try and run down the inside at him under brakes.
Richards looks menacing, doesn't he? If you drift back behind them and look at third spot, the battle for it is almost identical to this one. Look at Marshall harassing Matthew Coleman, but you're riding now with Alex Davison.
And Alex has just run onto the straight a little bit better than Jim. Looks like Jim's got a bit more mid-corner speed, but Alex seems to be getting off the corner a little bit better, which has been the case for most of the day.
A tremendous first season of Carrera Cup as Davison gets sideways. You can see the tyre marks he left at an incredible pace going through turn 1.
Certainly ran very wide and gave Jim Richards the opportunity to get right back up on his rear bumper bar. But as you can see there again, he just seems to be able to get that car to jump out of the corners slightly better than Jim Richards.
Someone looked as though they were in trouble in the background. Marshall now maybe able to execute this move on Coleman. Coleman very brave under brakes down into turn 4. Just goes that little bit deeper, that little bit more committed.
And Marcus is running very cleanly. He's, you know, there's no contact, there's no bumping and grinding. They're not trying to push your way past, and this is a pretty hard dice between these guys. See, Fitzy's come up there, and he's got a bit of a run on the inside here now. Be interesting to see who gets under the bridge here first.
Marcus got in there a little too hot and wasn't able to. Yep, Fitzy's through.
He is. He's on the brakes hard now. Marcus goes to the outside to try and get a better run off the corner, but he needs to be a little bit careful here. As you can see, he's got Jonathan Webb all over the back of his car now, so if he does too many switch manoeuvres, the chances are he could drop back another position.
It seemed as though Marshall got in a little too hot around the back of Corporate Hill, and he lost that corner exit speed, and Fitzgerald had him set up perfectly.
That's exactly right, Rusty. Just got in there a little bit deep, ran a fraction wide. It was enough for Fitzy to get his nose down the inside.
This is the view from up high in our cherry picker. Rodney Jane, who's had a very good round here. Not sure whether there was contact. He's lost a tiny little bit of body work there, and it may have been Tony Quinn, I think, trying to get through Paul Pedersen, and Dean Cook also off on the exit of turn 2 there. So it's all happening in this final race of the season. Clark Quinn is chasing Tim Lay, and there's no love lost between those two guys after the previous race. Lay off to the outside in the Greg Murphy Racing Team Braun entry. Bell doesn't seem to have the pace for some reason. Lay gets in there really hot. Look at the car dance around.
I'm not quite sure what's going on with Bell here. He's certainly not been the easiest guy in the whole world to pass over the last couple of events, and maybe he's struggling a little bit with the car at the moment. I'm not sure. He drives really well and hard, and he just, that all happened a little bit too easy for me. I think he could have a car problem.
Carrera Cup organisers announced their calendar recently as Matthew Coleman goes wide. That was just too good an opportunity to refuse, and Fitzgerald went by him. The calendar, which we'll talk more about towards the conclusion of the show, is fantastic. They're going to Bathurst next year, Pukekohe in New Zealand, to IndyCar, of course. It all starts the season opener at the Clipsal 500 in Adelaide, so a big year for this category, and it backs up a stellar first season. Richards throwing absolutely everything at Alex Davison. Look at the amount of track and beyond it that he's using.
He is. He's using all the road and then some. He's using it all on the exit and all on the way in. And I mean, that's what you've got to do in this class. To run at the front, you've got to get the most out of your car. And these two, they're really operating at a level just above what everyone else seems to be able to get to at the moment.
He's just so comfortable behind, the wheel of a 911 GT3 like this, isn't he? Oh, big moment for Chris Seidler.
Oh, dear, how lucky was that?
Off the exit of turn 9, or turn 8, I should say. That's blind as you come around there.
It is blind, and really for Clark Quinn to miss him there, that had everything to do with a lot of luck and quick reflexes. You come around, you can't see, there's a car in the middle of the road. It's just a reflex action to try and swerve to get around him, and he's done a fantastic job to get around that car.
It's a bit like exit stage left or to the right even for everybody else. Paul Pedersen, Dean Cook and co. This is a great battle for 4th spot. Matthew Coleman fending off Marcus Marshall. Right now it's Alex Davison who leads the way in the final race of the championship. We'll take a break. More on your home of motorsport on the other side of this. This is Trackside on your home of motorsport. Alex Davison, the youngster who's been living in Germany for a number of years now, came up through the Australian Formula Ford scene, but has left a big impression on the Porsche factory in Germany, and he's back in Australia racing, and what an impact he's made on the Carrera Cup back down under. He leads the way from Jim Richards in this one. This is the battle for 4th spot, the Lexmark Porsche 911 GT3 of Matthew Coleman and Marcus Marshall chasing, and I'm surprised that Marshall, given the sort of form we've seen from him during the year, hasn't found a way past here. It's obviously a good indication of how strong Matthew Coleman is coming on. Having said that, Marshall sets it up beautifully through turn 1. Very late on braking, and he's there.
Well, and it was a clean pass. These two have had a little bit of contact from time to time, but he got a good run down into turn 1, came out, got down the inside of Matt really early. There wasn't much he can do about it. He had to let him go, and it was a clean, good, honest pass. And now we've got Jonathan Webb all over the back of Matt Coleman and Lexmark Porsche.
Now, this is a replay of an incident between Stephen Bornas and Greg Keane by the looks of things. So Keane is the man who gets turned around. The view from onboard Clark Quinn's car. Oh, boy. Very lucky to avoid that. We rejoin the battle. Good one from Fitzgerald, a 1:36. But not near the sort of times we saw in qualifying. Tim Lay taking pole in a 1:35.24. And in the opening 2 races, we saw some fantastic times banked by Alex Davison. In the early part of the season, Jonathan Webb, who's chasing Matthew Coleman here, got some assistance from rally ace Rick Bates on, I guess, learning the setup of this car. Rick had been to a number of test sessions with them.
And this is a good look at Marcus. Just having a bit of a look. I'd say the sun's shining in his eyes a bit late in the day. He's out off after Peter Fitzgerald now, and he needs to really put his head down and pedal hard. We can just see Fitzy in the distance out there. It looks like it's a long way away, but when you're in the car, it doesn't seem that far.
Does it give you, once you can see that little window of opportunity, how hard do you chase?
Once you can actually sight them, you tend to have a point on the lap, and you go around the next time around, you can see what the gap is. Now, Jim has closed right up on the back of Alex. He's done the fastest lap of the race in doing so, and I think we're in for a bit of an action here. These guys are going at it so hard. They're using every bit of the track, and they'd be head down and pedaling as hard as they can.
The body language from the cars are incredible. They are really pushing very hard. Jim in particular, very impressed. He's had to play chase, or chaser I should say, in the opening 2 races, but he's very keen to try and take a win away from Davison here, and Davison is making it enormously hard for him. Down to turn 9. Richards very close. The OAM's Porsche, we've seen it at the front of the field for the bulk of the season. Look at how cool, calm and collected this youngster is. You'll notice there on his helmet the sign for Stewie on the front of it, for his good buddy Stewie McColl, who got, unfortunately, he was involved in a tragic accident at Phillip Island earlier this year and passed away, and the paddock does miss Stewie. Let's have a look here, the view from the quick and tough entry, Clark Quinn. And he's in trouble, but was there someone else in trouble behind him that set this whole thing off? He may have done that on his own, just perhaps getting in there a little too hot. Richards again, intimidating down into turn 4.
And when we look at the in-car camera stuff, you'll see every now and again, you'll see Alex look up and he's just glancing to see the gap to Jimmy. They're using all of the road here, every little piece of the road that they can. Alex has just got that gap out a little bit, but when they're this close, or Jim's a fraction closer, Alex needs to start being defensive again. You'll see that he doesn't go right out to the exit on the corners when he's going to turn in. He just runs the car about halfway out, so Jim can't get down the inside of him, or he can block him if he needs to. But really, it's a great dice between these two blokes working the car as hard as they possibly can.
This is the final lap, and Davison resisting the pressure from the very experienced Jim Richards. His peers are here looking on as well. James Courtney, his brother Will Davison. And I guess if you throw into the mix the likes of ex-Formula One drivers, Alex Young and Derek Warwick, there's a bit of pressure to perform as far as Davison is concerned. Pressure on himself, certainly, but a clean sweep for Davison and the Greg Murphy Racing outfit. 3 race wins from 3 race starts. What a fantastic end of the season. And Richards pushes him all the way in the last race. Excellent result for Peter Fitzgerald in the Enyo Porsche. And Marshall cements 2nd spot in the championship with a fighting 4th spot. There's Coleman finishing just ahead of Jonathan Webb.
Alex, just about the perfect weekend back home.
Definitely my aim at the start of the weekend was to win all 3 races, obviously, and keep that record from the Grand Prix intact. And by the skin of my teeth, we've been able to do that. It was fantastic. It definitely wasn't easy. Would have liked to have been able to drive away into the distance and have a nice, comfortable one, but all 3 races were obviously pretty high-pressured, especially that last one. And I knew at the start of the race, if Jim got into 2nd at the start, there's no way I was going to be able to drive away, because our pace from the race before was quite similar. And as soon as we got onto the first lap, I could feel my tyres were just shot. I think his setup or whatever, he looked after his tyres a bit better than me over the weekend, so didn't have quite as much grip as him in that last race. But I just made sure I didn't outbrake myself, slowed it right down mid-corner and was able to punch out of the corners really fast. I knew then he would have no chance of getting by. So it's high pressure. I'm glad it's all over.
Jim, the kid's all right, isn't he?
No, he proved that at the Grand Prix earlier this year, as I said. No, great driver. I mean, when you're behind, you can catch up in places, but there's no way you can go past. So unless one of us makes a mistake, it's virtually status quo.
You pushed him about as hard as I reckon you possibly could too in that race.
Yes, as hard as we could without coming into contact, but that's not the name of the game. It's, these cars are great to drive, and that's probably the most enjoyable race I've had all year. It's really good.
It's been another wonderful year for you, hasn't it?
No, it certainly has. We've had a great run with the car. It's been very reliable. As I've said before, I've driven Porsches now for over 10 years, and I've never ever failed to finish a race. And that's what's good about them. They're great cars, and they're so reliable.
You'll be back in 2004?
Oh, I think I'll have to, yeah.
Look forward to seeing you then.
Thank you, Ta.
Matty, first podium for the year. Well done.
Thank you very much. It's been a long, hard year, and finally today's paid off. And it's a credit to all the boys that persisted with me all year. We've had lots of problems, so it's a great way to finish up.
Yeah, it sure is, and it sets up an exciting prospect for Coleman in 2004. He'll want to improve on his 6th place finish in the championship. Richards, the man who was untouchable coming into this round. Marshall cements 2nd, and of course he was the Rookie of the Year and winner of the Driver to Europe in Super